Welcome to Business with Beers, a podcast for business owners who want to scale their business and their income by investing in people, process, and technology. This week, we have Travis Odom, a Moe's SouthWestGrill franchisee who's grown from one location in 2009 to 11 now throughout Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland. Welcome to the show, Travis.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you having me today.
Great. Yeah, well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't be Business with Beers if I didn't ask you, not COVID, we're at a bar. What are we drinking? What's your favorite beer or other?
It's definitely not beer. COVID got me to the whiskey side, so we're all on the whiskey. My favorite right now is Angel's Envy on the Rocks. I mean, it's pretty. I'll keep it pretty simple there. It's really good.
Okay, I don't know if I've had that one. I like Woodford Reserve Double Oak.
Mm-hmm. Woodford Reserve is really good. Little different. It's just different. It's really good. It's smoother. I used to drink Jack all the time, but then I've stepped up a few levels. Yeah, grown up a little bit.
That's great. Cool. So share a story, who you are, what do you do, how'd you get here, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm very passionate about our brand. I ate at my first Moe's SouthWestGrill back in 2003. I worked for a company, Penske Truck Leasing. My boss came in one day and said, "Hey, let's go eat this thing called a home wrecker." And I'm like, "Sure, let's go." So we went, enjoyed it. I loved what it was about. The colors.
What's a home wrecker? So
our home wreckers are our main signature item of our burrito. Okay. So it's just it's a big ass burrito with guacamole, sour cream, rice, beans, cheese, protein, and it'll fill you up. So we went and we enjoyed it. Fell in love with it. You know, we had a lot of playful names back then based off of some older movies. We used to have a Super Kingpin quesadilla, for the movie Kingpin, and Art Vandelay, which was Seinfeld, and or the movie Fletch. So just different fun names. We've kind of grown out of that a little bit because those movies and some of those references are pretty old now. But
are there any new ones?
Well, the newest one, not anymore. We kind of took the names away, but the newest one that we had was The Wrong Doug, and that was from the movie The Hangover. So, but still, the Hangover movie is now 10 plus years old. So it's like, sure. Okay, we kind of outgrow our audience a little bit. But yeah, I really love the brand. I love what it stood for, the colors. Moe's is an acronym that actually stands for Musicians, Outlaws, and Entertainers. It's actually not a person. So I just love the vibe of the restaurant, and the liveliness and how the people, the interaction with the guests. So I continue to patronize, to be a patron of Moe's in South Carolina, where I'm from. And then so I just continued to go there. When my wife and I met, I took her to Moe's for the first time, and she didn't like it. And I was like, well, we need to kind of figure this one out if this is gonna last. So. But like most everybody, she found what she liked. She stayed in her lane and was able to, to enjoy it. We actually, in 2006, when we got married, I bought her a dog for her birthday, and his name was Mo.
Okay.
And this is before we were franchisees. We were a brand ambassador, and I know, being a part of the brand, we understand those customers now that they come in all the time, and most brands have that. We were just regulars. I mean, she would make me go to a different Moe's because she never wanted to go to the same Moe's because she didn't want people to recognize her. So it was kind of fun. But then 2008 hit, the financial crisis. That was 2008. I was in sales. I was having a good year. I just knew at that point in time in my life, this is not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I didn't want to have somebody dictate, my success. And just with the way that that industry at the time, there was a lot of issues with credit and money and things like that. So we had a little bit of cash, and we were like, I'm 28 going on 29. I wanted to, before I was 40, try to, step out on my own. I felt like if I did that, I would have plenty of time to, fix anything that may have been damaged. I had a customer tell me about the golden handcuffs at one point in time. Yeah. And he referenced the golden handcuffs by saying, look, you start getting to a certain salary, certain, position within your company, you start growing, and then your salary meets your lifestyle. And so you can't go without that. And he's like, so when he started his business, he realized he was on that path, but he needed to make that jump and that change and And so I listened to that, and I was like, okay, this is the time where if I jump now, I can still, understand what my income level could be to be able to survive. So we were, it was my late 20s and 28, 29. And my wife is from the Pennsylvania area. So we called her parents and said, hey, we have an idea, but we're going to need some assistance a little bit. And the assistance came the way of living with them, actually. So we packed everything up, our 2-month-old son. And in 2009, we moved up to Pennsylvania and moved into the room my wife grew up in. So It was me, my wife, and my son, our 2 dogs, their 2 dogs, and we all lived in under one roof for 3 years while we got the business off the ground. And they're our business partners in our first couple restaurants, and so it's that's how we got started. Fell in love with it. Really enjoyed the atmosphere when we first got started, but it was challenging. It was very tough. It's a lot different when you own the business versus just working in the business. So that's kind of how we got started.
Yeah, that's great. And you talk about the sacrifices you make as a business owner, especially to get started, and the risk you take on, and leaving a probably a well-paying job, and going back and living with your in-laws and a small room, right? And it's not all glory, right? But you take that risk because you're seeing the bigger picture, and that that's the price you're gonna kind of pay to kind of build it up. And
I think most people think that when you start out a business, most business, I mean, every now and then you catch lightning in a bottle, but most businesses, people, you don't start the way, it's not as glamorous as you possibly think. You have payroll you got to meet, you have people that are counting on you every day. It's no longer just about yourself or your family. It's about the people that work for you and their families. And those days that are hard to get moving, you have to motivate yourself to get going because other people rely on you. So, but it's more rewarding than anything else that I can ever say I've ever done in my life. Yep.
And where in Pennsylvania is that?
So we're in the eastern portion of Pennsylvania. Reading, PA is where I live. And then obviously, like you said in the intro, our stores are on the outside.
Yep. So that was the first location in Reading.
Correct. Yep.
And so how long did you, until you opened your second one or grew into your second or third location? 3 years?
So, so 2013, we opened our second location. We had another location in there. I bought another location, but we kind of transferred, I guess you would say. We negotiated out of the lease with the landlord, and then we came closer to Reading. And so we have one on the east side of town and one on the west side of town, essentially.
Okay. So that was 2013, the second one.
2013. Mm-hmm.
What were some of the challenges going from 1 to 2? Was it any different? Was it twice the work?
Just where your time was, you can't split yourself in half. You needed to figure that out. And I learned really quickly that you had to have the right people. When you had one location, you could be there every day. Yep. You could have that interaction. I did have a general manager, but it was still a lot of my influence on everything. When you go to 2 restaurants, that was a challenge because you couldn't be there every day. The good news is what we decided to do is my wife actually became the GM of one of the locations, my first location. So I say GM franchisee. She actually became, ran that business while I took over the new one to start it up. So we both could, I felt comfortable. She did a really good job to be able to maintain and grow and do the things that need to be done. So that's how we started her. That's how we did the second location.
Okay. So you got 2 in 2013, and then where does it go from there?
So, we actually had a really good, everything was great actually. My had the right people. I started growing and found the right 2 general managers to really run my locations. And so from 13 to, middle of 16, things were really good for a 2.5 year run. I was able to kind of really be that director of operations. Kind of, I didn't have to be in the stores every day because I had two really good general managers, and I was able to work on the business instead of typically working in the business.
Sure. Yep.
So we grew ourselves, grew our people. And then in 2016, my folks kind of got a little antsy. They were looking for upward mobility, and I didn't want to crush that. And I, at the time, I felt like it was a good time for us to start looking at different avenues. So a couple of people, investors, came to me and said, "Hey, we want to invest. Let's go look at either another brand or let's look for other Mo's." So we started this whole process, and we started looking, and nothing really caught our eye, except there was a group of stores that I really was keen on that's in the Philadelphia market, but we couldn't get things to work out. It just didn't work out. So what happened is I had a conversation with that franchisee, and I said, "Hey, look, we may not can buy these locations from you, but maybe, what if us talk about maybe partnering together to work on these locations and continue to build these locations." So after some discussion, we decided to do that. So we partnered together in late 16. So I think it was October of 16. So, at that point in time, we partnered together on a set of stores in the Philadelphia market. Ended up unfortunately closing a few stores, but it was just the right thing to do to be able to grow the business. Kind of take a step back to move forward.
And how many was that you that group?
That group. So there were 4 open at the time, and then we built one together. So there was a total of 5, but we ended up closing 3 of them over time.
So you approached the guy, you wanted to buy him, he didn't want to sell him, so you said, "Hey, instead, partner up."
It was just an opportunity. Yeah, he wanted to sell, but it made more sense for us to become business partners. And he's someone that I'd known for a while. And then just an opportunity for me to grow and learn from his experience. He's a franchisee within the Wendy's world, and they've been doing this for quite some time. So he just had a wealth of knowledge and experience, and very much like a mentor, or is a mentor. I shouldn't say much like one. He really is. I mean, it was an opportunity for me to latch on to someone that had been part of this and continue to help me develop and grow. And it's amazing that I look back that I thought I knew everything in 2016 when we started, and now 2021 I knew nothing. So but it's been a great partnership. It's been actually wonderful. And then March of 17 we had Delaware stores as well, 3 Delaware stores, and we same partner. Yep. And so then we partnered again on those, because give ourselves some time to kind of acclimate ourselves to one another. Okay. Not only that, but just the process of getting into a couple of stores and then go from there. So because really what it was is my folks came along with me. Mm-hmm. So I had one general manager that left those stores and kind of went and helped me go into the restaurants and really work on the restaurants and create that environment that we needed to grow. So that was kind of how we partnered together back, in 2017.
Okay. So then what are some of the biggest things you think you've learned from that mentor you currently learn from?
Well, we only have 45 minutes. The biggest thing is the people aspect. Some of the people stuff and the leadership skills that I've developed over the years, just listening. He was never going to teach me how to roll a burrito or learn how to, learn about Mo's. That was my piece to the puzzle. But just the overarching how to, from an organizational skill set, growing your people, growing your business. He still is a great sounding board, hey, from your experience, A, B, C, D, what worked, what didn't work. And one of the things that I started learning, and as we continue to talk, and even today, is not necessarily to learn from his successes, but from some of his failures. And that's some of the things that we talk about, constantly, is like, this didn't work, so we don't need to try that. That's not something we know. This was a failing, but just some of the key, key things that he's been in the business for 50 years. So you can't replace experience. And that was one of the things that I've learned from him. It's not always about, what you think, it's about what you've experienced in life. And as I've grown other leaders within our organization, it just continues to hold true. Really quick, funny story. When we sat down and we were looking at P&Ls and stuff, and I said, I told him, I said, oh, this is going to be easy. He's like, just wait 1 second here. I mean, remember, people have been trying, but what is easy to you may not be easy to others. And I'm like, it really kind of resonated with me. So it was one of my first things that I really hung on to and latched onto, that, we got to meet people where they are from a leadership standpoint. You can't expect everybody to be where you are in your knowledge and your background and work ethic and all that, because that's just not the case. So it doesn't mean that people don't want to try, but it's the idea of being, creating and understanding what the best version of people can be. That's what we need to accept. It's not, if their best version is 2 steps below somebody else, that's okay. But as long as they're coming every day and bringing their best version of themselves, then that's all you can ask from people. So it was one of my first moments that you kind of like step back, but just a wealth of knowledge that you just can't replace from a book or anything else. I think that's from a business perspective, if people don't have mentors and look to people that have been there before and done that, and really lean in and listen to them and understand what their trials and tribulations, what they went through, and try to learn from their failures, not necessarily their successes, because times are different, right? What's going to work today may not have worked back 10, 20, 30 years ago, but what happened 10, 20, 30 years ago may not work today either. But failures truly, 9 times out of 10 kind of can stand the test of time.
Yeah, that's great. And I say something too that's like, what got us here today won't get us to tomorrow, right? And that we got to constant, and similarly, like your future, like you're not the same person you are today that you were 10 years ago. You're not going to be the same person in the next 10 years that you are today. And so it's that constant evolution and learning from others. And your comment about, I think that you don't know, it's easy to you, but it's not easy to them. And then really working then to educate too, to say, all right, how can I break this down? How can we make it easy to understand so that we can start to, bridge the gap and raise everybody up. So, right. But it's a challenge, right? Because even then people have different learning skills and levels and bring different things to the table. So.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, one of the books that he actually put me on to is 1 Minute Manager and Situational Leadership. And it's a very easy, quick read, but it's one of those books that, kind of stand the test of time. I mean, it doesn't change, where people are in their learning, the grid that it has in the book, the eager learner, that really is that first person. I've got a job, I'm ready to go. And it kind of takes you all the way around, to the scale of who's, you're trying to match your team to where they belong. So you can direct towards that. Some people need more hands-on leadership and more directive, decisive, information versus someone that may know everything and is like one of your best of the best, but they just need some attaboys and support. Where can I help you? Where can we lead? So it's been something that's been very helpful for our leadership over the last 5 years.
Great. So let's talk about COVID. Obviously, restaurant business has been hugely affected. What are some of the pivots you've made at Moe's to adapt and to grow, or what's it look like?
Yeah, so those first 2 weeks of COVID were very, it was tough. I mean, especially for the restaurant industry in Pennsylvania and really everywhere. No one knew what was going on. The first thing to do was just shut everything down. It became, at one point it was, are we essential? Are we not essential? Well, we finally got to that point where, we were deemed essential, but no dine in. Mm-hmm. And that's where things really changed. Before COVID, 90% of our business was in the restaurant, not, coming in the restaurant, sitting in the restaurant, or takeout or whatever it may be.
So 10% was like Grubhub or whatever delivery apps.
Catering, third party, whatever it may be. But 90% of it was, walking in the restaurant, either on our app or whatnot, but still walking into the restaurant. Well, when all this stuff started hitting, everybody's like, I can't even go in the restaurant. Well, that wasn't the case. So the biggest thing for us was to go, hey, we're still open. You can still walk through the line. You can still take things out, but it was re-educating our guests on how to do that. Mm-hmm. And that was the toughest thing. Because then, we still just didn't know enough about the virus. So that was tough. That was very tough. We went all in on curbside right away. We didn't have the curbside ability. We were able to create the curbside availability, created signs in the parking lot, call this number, we'll come run your food out. It was a lot of leaning into our friends and our family and social media in the very beginning. It was like, hey, we're open, we're here. Please pass it along. We're here to help. We're here to help. Whatever we do, we're going to get through this together. It was a lot of sense of community, a lot of Facebook Live with me, just going on, telling our folks thank you, writing handwritten notes in every single bag, telling the community how much we appreciate, how much every single meal really meant. And then we had to unfortunately make some tough decisions. I mean, that was the hardest piece. I had to call every one of my managers and say, hey, look, this is going to be a roller coaster. Or do you want to be on this? Is this something that you want, you're willing to go to war? If not, I understand, but this is going to be some tough times that we're going to go through, but we'll be better for it on the other end. And so, I was very fortunate and that I didn't lose any managers, district managers. We didn't cut anybody's salary or anything. We just said, look, let's go to war. We'll do this together. We'll figure it out. Some of our hourly employees, we were just not able to give them the hours. So they were able to get unemployment. But the cool thing is when we started getting people back, they were right back in with us. They wanted to jump back in, but it was a lot of hours. And then we got creative. We create, a franchisee in another part of the down south created these meal kits, like taco fajita kits to take home and build your own fajita kit, taco kit with kids and stuff because everybody was at home. So then, somebody else took this idea and then said, okay, we're going to go into a neighborhood with it, and create a pop-up event. And that event, where you get all your neighbors to kind of pre-order and instead of going to the restaurant, you come to someone's house, designated house to pick these orders up. And it just kind of grew from there. So a couple of us really kind of started, franchisees started really kind of, trying to figure this whole thing out. Okay, let's try it. So I was up for it and we tried it at my house for the first time and ended up getting 27 kits sold that one day. So we found it as an opportunity and a vertical to be able to really drive the business and just to continue to tell people we're here. We were putting our tent up, our big bright yellow tent, and people were kind of like, what's going on? Because everybody was still, but what we found it actually to be an opportunity for a social event because again, at the time, nobody was doing, everybody thinks nobody was doing anything. So when we were doing these events, people were coming by and waving at each other and neighbors were seeing each other for the first time. And they were just, you could see that sense of like, our life is kind of trying to be some normalcy. So we felt like we were doing this. So we found an opportunity just to continue to grow and grow and grow these pop-up events. They came really local, really, really social media oriented. And then we just, we kind of created an opportunity. We were like, okay, we see this thing really, adding some dollars back in the business and the restaurant that we didn't have, our sales started growing back. And then the one thing that really stood out is the organizations, every restaurant, everybody really stopped fundraising. All golf tournaments stopped, all these major things just stopped. We were like, well, you know what? We can still do this. I mean, we're back to a point where I think we feel like we can give some money back. So let's see what happens. Because we felt bad. We felt like, hey, your organization's you still need money. We're blessed enough to be able to still be standing. So let's get back to the community. Let's see what we do. So we started this with doing the pop-ups with fundraisers versus kind of like a neighborhood now. So it's kind of gone it switched. It used to be going to neighborhoods, friends of friends of friends, doing this for us for, just because. Now we're doing it with organizations, and it has exploded. We served over 8,000 kits last year, and from May until December, well over 8,000 kits to the communities.
And has it grown, like each month is growing further? Like
absolutely. Growth? Yeah. It's doubled, and it's doubled. And what our February, we just ended, or we're not even through February, I should say. And we've already had more sales in February than we did in, anytime last year, because of just the growth and the pace that we've gone. So
including restaurant and the pop-ups, or just
just the pop-up segment. Yeah. Our two highest months was October, November, and February is now third. Okay. So that in a cold month with all the snow, we still get the third highest sales over the last 12 months in February. So it's continued to grow and feed our business. But the bigger thing is we're actually being able to give money back to the organizations, because everybody kind of just stopped fundraising. And to be honest with you, there's not a lot of organizations still fundraising that we see. Restaurants, I don't know if have gotten quite back to that level of understanding, because they need that dine-in presence, where we don't need this dine-in presence now. So it's been pretty neat. It's been really neat.
So how do you find the organizations that want to do the fundraising?
So we have a team. We started with all the people that had fundraised with us in the past. That's how we went back to them and said, hey, we have this new idea. What do you think? And then it just kind of grew from there. Word of mouth has been great. My wife has done a great job with using social media to go in and kind of like post. She's been allowed to go in and post in bigger groups. If it's like a local town like Lidditz, PA, they have a group of 2,000. She'll get access to go post, and people see it, and then just kind of it snowballs. It snowballs really quickly. And then once the pop-up is done one time, people within that that first event say, wait a minute, I have an organization. So they do it. So it continues to grow. I mean, because it's super simple for the organization. A lot of people, especially in our industry, is like, bring your receipt, show your receipt, this is how you got to mention something. We don't do that. It's very simple. It's send a link, click order, whatever it is. We show up. It's a 30-minute delivery time, essentially. They swing by, grab their kit, and they're gone. That's it. There's nothing really hard about it. And then we give back.
Make it easy, make it simple, right?
That's it.
The low barriers to entry,
convenience. Yeah.
And it's cool because then it allows you to kind of expand with like outside of your radius of the restaurants, right?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, we have, our largest event right now that they have every second month of second Tuesday of every month, they do a Taco Tuesday event. They're about 45 minutes away from to our closest restaurant. So we've created this whole new environment, which long term, it's going to be nice because there's no Moe's in that area. So it could be an opportunity for us to kind of start our footprint in that area to continue to grow into that area. So
especially
really exciting about what we've done.
Especially if you see there's demand in that market, right? You're doing your own market research and creating that prior. So that's it's a really, really smart idea. Are other franchisees catching on to this, or just unique? There's a few. Myself and the franchisee out in Pittsburgh are really the ones that kind of, we're kind of the leading two franchisees. It just takes some work. There's some work to it. I have a whole dedicated team. Our catering business was such a huge part of our business, and it's slowed down so much because of the restrictions within offices and things like that. So I just took that team and switched it over kind of to this pop-up team and put a lot of focus on it. So, and my wife has done an amazing job. She leads that team, and that team is just, they're killing it right now. So it's pretty. You got the logistics, you got to find the spot, you got to get the fundraising out, you got to set it up, you got to make the food, get it there, right? Once someone's dedicated to this, it's not the easy add-on, but obviously the rewards can be pretty significant.
Absolutely.
Especially with 11 locations. You can have 11 of these a day, right? If each store kind of launches one or more. So
correct. And we're getting ready for Cinco and about to Cinco de Mayo, and we're having a huge event centered around the pop-ups, where we're going to do some social media and kind of some fun competitiveness with organizations to try to see who gets the most votes to be able to have that honor to have a pop-up on Cinco. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Really excited about that. I mean, again, this is something that you'd asked me last year if we would be doing. No, we're not doing that. But then it's been growing, but it's twofold. It helps us and it helps organizations in the community.
Yeah,
we'll get back. And then people are coming back in the restaurants. I mean, we see the growth in our restaurants where we do the most pop-ups. We're finding new users that have never had Moe's before, mom, dad that have never been to Moe's, or grandma, grandpa, or, just anybody, any family that's never been to Moe's, but they're supporting, their local organization because they know that they need help. So it's been a win-win, I think, for the organization and us. So it's been nice.
That's great. Yes. What's next for you? Is it new markets? Is it continuing your same stores? Is it new brands? Is it pop-ups?
So again, back in 2019, just recently, myself and my business partner, we partner with another franchisee for the other port. It's his daughter, so it works well. The three of us work really, really well together. We kind of run everything as one. We did that back in the beginning of 2019. So that's our York, Lidditz, Lancaster, State College, Pennsylvania markets,
mm-hmm.
and then Salisbury, Maryland. So that was our expansion about 2 years ago, and it's worked extremely well together because we all, when you start becoming a partner with someone, you want to make sure they have, the same mission, vision, values kind of scenario. That's really important. And the one thing that all three of us do very well is we all, that value piece. We all value the same things. We all have the same, pure core values that we want to present, not only to ourselves but to our teams. So that was a really good partnership, and it's been amazing. We've all been able to kind of, find our niche within our organization now of what we do.
You have clear roles, responsibilities, so everybody knows.
Right. Yeah. But it's pretty, I'm going to run the operations, the marketing, really be the lead. We mm-hmm. talk about it as a spear, I'm the tip of the spear, and then they're behind the scenes doing, one is the most experienced, he's our administrator. When we have questions or whatever, we can talk to him, and then she's a very good sounding board for me. We talk more people oriented discussions, laboring, scheduling, things like that make a lot of sense. So we all work very well together, have our roles. So that was going back to the question in 2019, that was our first kind of big expansion. And yes, we want to expand. We want to look to acquire and or build other restaurants. But one of the things that we've learned is don't build or acquire just to do it. Just you have to make sure that it makes sense. And so as of today, there's nothing. I'm never going to say no. I mean, we definitely want to build and grow, but I'm sure it'd probably be 2022 before we really kind of take a look at anything.
Yeah, you want to have, at least for us too, and you're probably the same, it's about the quality, right? Not necessarily the quantity.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Sometimes you can make more money out of less locations, because, all your fixed costs are covered and all your volume is a lot more profitable.
Yeah, it's another thing that that Jeff has taught me is when we first talked about something, he's like, owning 100% of everything and making nothing is not so great, but maybe owning 10% of something that makes you a nice chunk of change is just as good. So I'm just like, you got a point there. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to own the whole thing.
Yep. So great. Well, that's great. Self-growth, growth within your stores, growing your people. All that's part of it too.
Yeah.
It's not just locations. So great. Do you have a book recommendation? Anything you reading now or?
Oh man.
Minute Manager earlier.
Yeah. So Leadership in 1 Minute Manager is in situational leadership is a really good one. I just got through reading the book Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. Okay. It's an autobiography, but it has a lot of business principles in it. And just, it talks about, the green light, red light, yellow light kind of situation. And if you apply that to business, what a red light today actually may have been, may turn into a green light later because of something that, you stop. And that was a great book. Contagious is a really good marketing book that I've read recently, actually several years ago, but I love that book. It's something that I kind of go back to a lot.
I haven't heard of that one. You know who it's by?
Yeah, it's Jonah Berger.
Okay.
It's sitting here on my shelf. It's an orange book. It talks about what people have done to create that.
How you and your wife felt about Moe's when you were 20 something
right,
years old,
yeah,
right? I
mean, something unique to their business,
fans,
So it talks about here local in our area. I don't know if you've ever been to Barclay Prime or not, out in Philly. It's a great restaurant, but it talks about Barclay Prime and how when they first opened Barclay Prime, it was just another steakhouse. It wasn't really anything different. Okay. But what they did to create the contagiousness of it or create that environment is they put $100 cheesesteak on the menu because cheesesteak is Philly, right? So they created it with the Wagyu ribeye and Goudier cheese and this incredible bread, and you get like a little half bottle of Dom Perignon. But what they did is they created this environment for people to go see $100 cheesesteak on the menu, and so it created this I got to go see it, but then they created more and more and more opportunity. And then there's a restaurant in New York that you can it's like 6 or 7 tables in the whole restaurant, but you have to order through a phone booth. And so it's just really neat.
It's the experience, right? That's why people want to go out. It's not only the food, it's the experience. So.
Yeah, and there's other great things that they talk about, and it's not just about food. That's just kind of close to what
it resonates.
Absolutely. But those are a few books. I mean, cool. That's one of my personal goals this year is to continue to read more because it's just I've learned the only way you're gonna get knowledge is through books, reading, and or people. There's really nothing else. There's no other way. So it's using both of those are really good resources.
Fantastic. Cool. Where can people connect with you? Email, website, social media?
Sure, absolutely. So Moe's.com, is our website that we have. I challenge people to check us out if you've never been there. But if for me personally, my email address is traviso@burritos, the number 2 beach.com.
Burritos to the beach.
Burritos to beach. The idea is, no, that's the idea is roll enough burritos to get to the beach one day. So
there you go. That's great.
So that was,
day.
Yep. And then, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I'm just Travis Odom. I mean,
we'll link them up. So,
cool. Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing some time today and your story, and got some, cool path with partnerships and fundraising and thinking outside the box and, continuing to, keep driving it. So.
Absolutely. All right, Brian.
All right,
appreciate it.
I'll talk
All
to
right.
you.
Thanks. Bye.